Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Musarat and I am doing a summary of this book, No Drama Discipline. And today we are on to chapter 5. Chapter 5 discusses this idea of 1, 2, 3 discipline, and it's a little bit more on the philosophy of discipline and what is the goal that we're trying to attain when we are trying to discipline. So 1, 2, 3 discipline, they discuss this idea of one definition. What is the definition of discipline? Essentially going back to the question of what are you trying to teach? What do you want your child to learn when you are trying to discipline them regarding a certain behavior or regarding a certain action? The second thing, so the two is two principles. Now the first principle is that wait until your child is ready. It's very, very important that your child is ready to learn. If your child is not ready to learn, you cannot teach them. And this idea is also, discussed, for example, in schools. They give an example of talking to educators, and educators say that if, for example, a child is under aroused, too sleepy, too tired, they're not going to learn. They're not ready to learn and engage. Same thing when it comes to our teaching that we want to do with them when we want to discipline them. If they are not ready and receptive, then they will not learn. Also, this idea of receptivity in the brain is a big, important aspect of it. If your child is triggered, if an adult is triggered, you cannot activate and have them engage their left brain, their thinking brain, so that the whole wise mind, the whole brain is working and functioning and able to respond with empathy, with insight. So that's the first principle. Make sure that your child is ready. Also make sure that you are ready. Ask yourself, am I ready? Am I activated? Am I in a state of, rage or anger or frustration? What's my state? Is my child ready? Am I ready? Am I calm? Am I able to teach in this moment? Or am I just gonna, lecture or other things that are gonna be, that are not gonna be to your goal? Second principle is be consistent but not rigid, and this is the idea that we do want consistency, and we as parents have heard it all the time. Consistent children like consistency, children like rhythms, children like things to be regularly paced. However, we also do not want to be rigid. Rigid means that at no matter what, we stick to a rule. So say we have a rule. Let's say that we have a rule that coming home after they come home from school, they get a break and then eat something, and then they must do their homework, and no extra like fun activities like sleepovers and things like that on a school night, let's say, for example. Now and you stay with that. But rigidity might come in. Let's say you have some family member that's coming out of town, or let's say that their grandparents are visiting. In fact, that's their example that they give, that, since your grandparents are over here, you can wait on your homework. When do you think would be a best time to get your homework done? So being flexible in your rules. Hey, your grandparents are visiting. Okay, well, that connection with them is important. However, let's also figure out when are you going to get your homework done. So something like that. When you are going out, let's say there is, no soda in your house, but once in a blue moon, could you allow a soda here or there? That would be an example. That's a tough one for me. I'm very rigid on that one. Okay, so and then 3 outcomes. So 1 definition, 2 principles, 3 outcomes. What are we wanting when we are doing good no drama discipline parenting? What are the outcomes that we want? So here they go into, Daniel Siegel goes into a discussion around mindsight. Mindsight is this idea of being able to being able to empathize, have insight, being able to see another person's mind. What is another person thinking, feeling? How might another person react? So the first outcome is, and actually I'm going to read there this beautiful, explained most simply, mind sight is the ability to see our own mind as well as the mind of another. It allows us to develop meaningful relationships while also maintaining a healthy and independent sense of self. That's mindset. That's his definition of mindset. And there are 3 mindset outcomes that we ideally want with our children. The first one is that we want to be able to teach them to have insight, internal understanding. So they go into examples of questions that we can ask them so that they are able to think and reflect and able to have more insight. They give an example for like a small child and a little bit an older child. When she took away the doll, it looked like you felt really mad. Is that right? And somebody for an older, like you might be like, I was watching you just before you blew up at your brother, and it looked like you were getting more and more annoyed that he was badgering you. Is that what you were feeling? So we want to help them think, reflect, teach them ways to have insight, ways to be able to understand their own emotions. Second outcome that we are wanting them to have empathy. We want to be able to see, hey, when you took away that other person's toy, how do you think it made them feel? So we want to give kids lots of practice reflecting on how their actions impact others, seeing things from another point of view, and developing awareness of other person's feelings. So, see Juliana's tears? Can you imagine how she might be feeling? Did you see his face when you yelled at him? That must have been really tough for him, knowing how much he idealizes you. So simply asking questions and helping our children make observations like this will be much more effective than preaching sermons, delivering lectures, or giving consequences, okay? And another thing that they emphasize in this is that we don't want to command. That's not helpful. Put your shoes away. Do this, do that. We don't want to do that. You might say one word clue, shoes. You might, and you might ask questions. And then outcome number 3 that is really, really important is integration. So by the way, they have this little equation of mindset. Mindset is insight plus empathy equals mindset. And then integration is, later perhaps I'll find the definition of integration that they have in here. But the idea is that we want to integrate what we're teaching them, learning them. Integration also in the brain, right brain, emotion oriented, left brain, thinking brain. We want the integration to happen, right? So one of the ways that integration happens is through repairs. When they've made a mistake, when we've made a mistake, we want to repair. We want to give them the chance to correct, and we also want to correct ourselves. So one example they say is to have do-overs. Let's say your child was yelling and screaming, and they said something in a mean way. Can you say, hey, can you say that in a different way? What's a kinder way that we might say that? And then they go a little bit into examples. There are lots of things that I've underlined here that I might share on Instagram later. But hopefully if this was helpful, share it with a friend, and see you back here for chapter 6, where they go a little bit more into other skills. Thank you.